Welcome to the show. I'm Angelo Santabarbara, Assemblyman for the 111th Assembly District representing Montgomery, Schenectady, and Albany counties. Today we have with us, we're going to talk about United Way. We have two representatives here, Amy Clinton, Manager of Public Policy and Grants Administration. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you.
And we have Ada Martinez, AFL-CIO Community Services Liaison. Welcome, both of you, to the show.
Thanks for having us.
And thank you for being here to talk about United Way. Maybe you could take a moment just to tell us a little bit about your background and how you became involved with United Way.
Go on.
Okay. So the past 5 years, I worked with the labor movement. I worked for the Capital District Area Labor Federation and was very heavily involved in the community. I had this opportunity actually a few months ago, 5 months ago or so, to come down to the United Way and work as the Community Services Liaison. So I'm back with working with the labor organizations and working with the United Way agencies, and it's a perfect fit because you know, both organizations work with individuals in the community that are in need. So that's how I became interested.
Great.
And I used to work in the for-profit world. I was very familiar with the United Way. In fact, in one of my last business jobs, helped raise money for the United Way. So when an opportunity came up to work for the United Way, it seemed like a perfect fit. The last 4 years, I've been involved in advocacy and grants writing and grants administration. So it's a passion of mine, being able to give voice to the people that we work with and represent, and United Way is, you know, encourage that passion. So.
Great. And United Way seems to be, I've heard it everywhere I go. You hear United Way or you see the logo, and some people know what the organization does, but some people don't. Why don't we just tell the audience what is the mission and give us a brief description maybe of what United Way does.
Sure.
Well, the United Way works to improve lives and community conditions by bringing people and resources together and have them focus on the basic needs for a good life. So that includes education that leads to a stable job, good health, income to support a family through retirement, and basic needs, the ability to meet basic needs of shelter, safety, and food. So we do that by working with 56 agencies, which covers 96 programs in the Capital Region, Schenectady, Albany, Rensselaer, Saratoga, and Schoharie counties. And basically what we do is we work with them in working groups that consist of professionals, community organizations, volunteers, labor organizations, and help identify the need in our community and what to do about it, basically.
That's and certainly those services in our community are something that's very important to helping our communities be successful.
Yes, exactly. And 211 falls under that. 211 fits very much in with the mission of the United Way. 211 helps us meet these needs of individuals, whether it is around education, basic needs, health. And so United Way is very supportive of this initiative in this area.
Well, tell us, 211, tell us about 211 and what the service is and actually what it does.
Well, 211 is basically our non-emergency resource line. So just like anyone would pick up the phone and dial 911 for an emergency, 211 would be dialed for any situation where an individual wanted information, but it's not an emergency need. However, they do work with 911 in case the situation is an emergency need. They can direct them in that sense. But it's basically a resource line, a call center where individuals call in and basically get information, anything they need. 90% of the individuals nationwide are covered by 211, and in New York State, 92% of residents are covered.
And are people actually using it? Is it a program that's being advertised? Do people know about it? Is it something that is utilized frequently?
Yeah, nationwide, as Ada said, you know, 90% of the population takes advantage of 211.
Okay.
And here in our area, we cover 12 counties. So south and at Columbia Green, all the way up north to Warren, Washington, Montgomery, Fulton, and we took almost 14,000 calls last year just in this 12-county area. So, and we do advertise. New York State has invested in 211 over the years, including this past year, and that was gave us the potential to advertise more. We've had billboards. A lot of folks will see 211 on bus ads, on bus shelters. We've got palm cards that we leave in different places. You may see our business cards with 211. So we're very actively out in the community, talking with schools, talking with community agencies, meeting with community leaders so that they understand what 211 is and how it benefits their residents,
Right.
and in turn, talking with volunteers and others that can help us get the word out.
And I see that you also have a website. Maybe we can give that out. It's www.211neny.org.
That's right. And it's a searchable database, so you can go on and you can look up information by county. So put in your zip code,
Okay.
Maybe a quick description of what it is that you're looking for. Ada talked about some of the needs that are covered, so perhaps it's housing issues. Maybe you're falling short on rent this month. Maybe you're looking for some cheap legal assistance, or you're looking for some additional help with education for your children, for instance. So you can put those keywords in, and it'll bring up a list of what is available in the organization. Of course, if there's any questions or you want more information, you can always pick up the phone and call.
And it sounds like it's a very user-friendly website, so people should at least explore it and see how it works.
Very user-friendly, and it's made that way purposely so that folks don't have to spend a lot of time searching for what it is that they need. The website is also an active component during times of disaster.
Okay.
So we refer people to the website to very quickly figure out what's going on in their area. If it's during Sandy, you know, where the shelters were, where dry ice pickups were. If it's during a storm, an ice storm, you know, if there's roads closed, all of that kind of stuff. It's available if you call 211, but it's also put up very quickly on the sites so people can see immediately what they need to do.
And as the labor liaison, I have to go out into the unions and speak to them and to their members about this opportunity. We have a program called Emergency Labor Assistance Program where we're able to help union members in an instance where they're in an emergency need. And while we're able to help them through that program, I'm sure to give them 211 information. So if they need anything else, I can direct them to that number. So I'm always out there at different labor organization events where I'm able to advocate for 211 so that the union leaders can let their members know that this service exists and how to use it. And we're always available to do presentations or anything like that for any kind of organization that may want more information.
Great, great. It sounds like a very valuable service, and I recommend people visit the website to at least explore it and know how it works. And again, it sounds very user-friendly, so probably will not take long to figure out how it operates. You mentioned Hurricane Sandy.
Yes.
Just as a real-life example, how did 211 come into play when a disaster like that strikes?
Sure. So we have MOUs with most of the 911 call centers in the area, and we also have agreements with all of the 12 county Office of Emergency Management. And during Sandy, for instance, we established a communication protocol where as information needed to be put out to the community, they could call 211. We posted on the website. We updated our database. In some cases, our call specialists knew where to call to get additional backup or additional information, but it's all real time. So as those roads are closing and they call 211 and say XYZ roads are closed, it's on the website, it's available if you call. Sometimes during loss of power, people may not have the opportunities to to go to the website. So, keep in mind, you
Right.
can always call 211. You can call 211 from any phone line, so cell phone, landline. It is a free call. It is confidential. Obviously, it's very easy to remember, so you don't have to remember what that 800
Right.
number is, or what the local phone number is to the county emergency services. And 911 especially appreciates it during time of disaster because they get the first line
Right.
of questions,
Yeah.
if something is wrong. So it's nice for them to be able to say, for that information, please call 211. They'll get that. And then vice versa. We know if someone calls us with an issue, we know if it's a true emergency.
Right.
So if you have lines down, or somebody's in trouble, or you have an accident, we know immediately what the protocol is to get that person help.
Besides the website, if someone wanted to get some more information, maybe mailed or come pick it up at an office, you have local locations where somebody could stop in, or is there?
Absolutely. They can stop into our office at the United Way. They can call us at 456-2200. We can mail out materials, or if they want us to go, talk more about it.
Learn a little more.
We're talking about doing some training for some of the 911 operators
Yeah.
in the different counties. We're available to do that.
Okay, great, great. Okay, we are going to take a break, and when we return, we will talk more about United Way.
Okay.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 88. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs.
Packers. Viking. Packers. Viking. Viking.
Red state, blue state, vegan,
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
downtown,
Night owl.
Early
We
bird.
come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live.
our families,
United.
even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
When you throw away money on wasted electricity, you're throwing away everything you could have bought with it. Saving energy saves you money. Learn more at energysavers.gov.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Gives us a chance to take a breath.
Okay, and we're back. I'm Assemblymember Angelo Santabarbara, 1170 Riverfront Center, Amsterdam, New York. 12010 is my district office address. My telephone number, 518-843-0227, or you can email me at santabarbara@assembly.state.ny.us. Welcome back to the show. We have guests here to talk about the United Way. Before the break, we talked about your service area. Maybe we could just go over that again real quick. I know you serve 12 counties.
Yeah, 211 covers 12 counties in this area. We mentioned that 211 is available across the state, so 92% of the state is covered. So if you're in a different area of the state, you can call 211 and you're going to be put in contact with the nearest call center. But we do cover the 12 counties. It's about 1.5 million people that we service, and like I said, about 14,000 calls that were taken over the 12 counties last year in 2012.
That certainly is a big area, and it's nice to know that service is available to our residents. A question, I guess people might be wondering, what exactly happens when you call 211? We can go through the steps.
Sure.
Just one example I want to give. Right now it's tax season, and everyone has a bunch of questions about taxes. And so what happens is, you know, we actually gear people to call 211. There's our Cash Vita program, which is a free tax prep for individuals under a certain income level. So we have them call 211, and when they call 211, they can let them know where these sites are, where they can get their taxes done. In addition to that, they would ask them information such as, you know, do you need childcare at that time? Do you need any kind of transportation? So the individual who is answering the call can go through a list of questions to make sure that the person who may just want to get their tax prep filled out are also getting other resources as well.
Right, so when you dial 211, you always talk to a live voice. And these are highly trained call specialists. Training is several months in length, and you know, it's a very structured training. So these call specialists know what to look for, what to ask in order to very quickly ascertain what's going on or see what the issue is. So if you're calling for, you know, to get your taxes done, for instance, or let's say you're, like I mentioned earlier, you're a little short on rent this month, and so you'll call, you're greeted 211 Northeast Region. How can I help you? Talk about what's going on. They'll ask several questions, including the zip code that you're calling from. This helps us track the calls, where the different calls are at the end of the day. You don't have to give your name. You don't have to give your information if you don't want. If they don't have the answer, say you've got some complicated social services question and we need to get back to you, we may ask you for your phone number. But otherwise, it is a confidential call. And call specialists, like I said, do know the questions to ask. If you present one issue, they're going to, before they let you off the phone, just make sure that you don't have children in the house, for instance, or you don't have an elderly resident in the house, because there may be opportunities that you don't know about. So Ada talked about our VITA program. Well, if you've got children, by the way, did you know that XYZ benefit,
that's very helpful,
you know,
yes,
is available? So you'll call to get your taxes done, and you may walk away with one or two other opportunities that you didn't realize were available.
That's great to know, and it's certainly worth it to make the call. And like you said, it's easy to remember and it's easy to make the call as well.
Absolutely, very easy to remember. And also there is the ability for multilingual conversations. We have a translation line that gives up to 250 different languages. We have Spanish-speaking call center specialists on at all times. So we make sure that that individual, wherever they are and from whatever background, can get their answers.
And that's certainly useful. And I know there's parts of my district where that would come into play as well. We talked about tax preparation. What are some of the other service requests you're getting out of the different counties?
Individuals call, you know, there's tax prep requests, there's transportation requests. Now that there's, you know, a lot of unemployment, people are looking for jobs, people are looking for opportunities, so they may be calling in because they need childcare, they need transportation, and 211 actually helps us identify in our community what the needs are. So when I spoke to you earlier about how we focus on our different initiatives, we have reason to focus our programs around specific initiatives, because 211 helps us figure out what the need is. If we have a certain number of individuals calling about employment opportunities, maybe we need to take a better look at what our unemployment rates are in our area and things like that.
So as you can imagine, like Ada said, basic needs are a high level of calls behind VITA. So housing issues, food security, or you know, food pantries, you know, access to different needs, child care. We do have agreements with a couple of the child care coordinating councils in the area, so that we can very quickly put them in touch with quality child care in their area.
And I see you're even getting calls for volunteering and donations as well, which is nice. If people wanted to call in for that purpose, they could call the 211 number as well?
Absolutely. That was particularly highlighted during Sandy, when people wanted to look for those opportunities where they could give their time. Maybe they didn't have a lot of money to give,
Right.
but they certainly could go wherever the need was. Same thing was with Irene and Lee. Or if they want to make donations, United Way and 211 has those opportunities in the database, again, real time as we're made aware of them, so folks can call and find out exactly where those needs are so they can donate.
And as far as volunteering for United Way, is there an opportunity to help out with United Way?
Yes.
As I mentioned before, I work really closely with the labor organizations, and they're always looking for opportunities to be more involved in the community. So I help them help set them up with opportunities, whether it be through our agencies or within our region in itself. So they can call 211 or they can contact me directly, and we can help set them up with you know, some sort of a project or a drive or anything,
Right.
anything of need, basically.
And I know I see the fundraisers, the fund driving going on, and of course there's always opportunities to contribute to that. Is that on the website as well, if people wanted to find out where they
Yes,
could donate?
if they want to make donations, whether it's a particular time like Sandy or Irene, or if they're just looking for the right place to invest
Right.
their money, they can certainly call 211 or they can call United Way, and we can guide them in those decisions.
And the website again, 211neny.org.
That's right.
Great. Let's talk about some real calls.
Sure.
I know we mentioned that earlier. Maybe we can talk about some of the calls that have come in.
Sure, sure. So we talked about what some of those needs are. You know, we have examples of you know, people who find themselves either on the verge of homelessness or homeless, and so you know they reach out to find out what those services are available. Recently, a county representative called 211 on behalf of a homeless veteran, young man who was just having some difficulty. They found him a place to stay, and they put him in touch with some programs that could give him some immediate access for help.
And to be able to get that connection in a fairly short period of time is really, really valuable.
Absolutely. And when we talk too about some of the calls, I think people can have confidence that if they need help right away, should you call 211? Some folks become confusing, when would you call 211, 911?
Right.
Again, we've got those agreements, but call specialists are trained to identify if you're in an immediate crisis. So recently we had a domestic violence victim call who needed to be put in touch with the police immediately. They got her to a safe place. They called the police while they were on the phone with her, and they got her in touch with services to help her and her children. So that's a couple of examples of calls. You talked about the folks with the labor and some of the needs that they have.
Yeah, so especially when an individual goes through some sort of a crisis, I always give them the 211 information so they can, if they lost their home and they have to stay at a hotel, it's not just about the fact that they have to go stay at a hotel, but there's everything, all the resources around that. Where are they going to cook? Where are they going to get food?
Right.
A specific individual I helped a couple weeks ago, she was handicapped and needed better access to hotels that had handicap accessibility. So by calling 211, she was able to get that information. I think another thing too that we forgot to mention was that the call center is open 7 days a week from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. So it's open most of the day. So
Right.
when an individual has a question, whether it's 9 o'clock in the morning or something that comes up late at night,
Right.
they can call that number, and we're working on ways to extend those hours. With funding, hopefully.
Right.
And one is, speaking on the topic of funding, there are different ways that people can help contribute to 211. The United Way does run workplace campaigns, and that's when companies give employees the opportunity to give directly to the United Way through payroll deductions. And on the pledge forms, 211 is a line item, so if they're very specific to 211, they've used the service themselves and felt that that was something that they wanted to focus on, it is an item that they could directly give to.
And I'm sure you yourself, through your office, can think of some examples
Yes.
and calls that you get from your constituents. Maybe they're not particularly in crisis,
Right.
but they can't find what that resource is to answer that question. It may not be you, but they know that you'll put them in touch with
Yes, this
something.
yeah, it's a very useful place to direct people when they're looking for specific things,
Right.
or even when they're not, they can find out where who they need to get in touch with.
Right, exactly.
Is there any particular time when call volume is higher, or when more volunteers are needed than any other time, or is it just pretty?
You mean for 211?
Yeah.
The technology that we have at the call center ensures that even if we do have periods of high calls, that there is a coverage.
Okay.
So whether you have to put more call specialists on, or
Right.
supervisor has to, so that people don't have to hang for a long second on the phone to get through. It's a high technology based call center, so we know how many people are on, how long they've been holding, and we can make sure that we address those needs as they're needed.
Great, and then of course you can always use more volunteers, and through the website, or they can make the
That's
call
right.
to one of your offices as well. Any other news or events coming up that we'd want the audience to know?
You know, we talked earlier about outreach. Ada and I are involved on outreach on a pretty regular basis, along with other United Way employees. We also have a 211 workshop that's coming up soon with the CSCA Women's Committee. That'll be in mid-March. In the first part of March, we're going to have a table at the Comptroller's Health and Information Fair. And we'll also be involved in an interagency get-together up in Saratoga County, where the various agencies come together, and folks can come visit and, ask questions in person. So we'll be available to talk about 211 and United Way, at those points.
Great, great. So it sounds like there's plenty of things coming up and plenty of opportunity to get
Absolutely.
involved. Is there, on the website, is there areas where if I needed to find a local office, I could find out where I'd want locations of your local offices, say in Albany or in different counties?
If you're looking for a local United Way?
Yeah, if some people may not want, may want to come in and talk to a person, or just drive up to the office.
If you want to know the address to the United Way office, we're in there as well.
Okay.
So our office is in Albany, but United Way in Fulton, for instance, United Way in Montgomery, United Way in Columbia, Greene County, they are all in there as well, because they are also out in the community working with folks, talking about 211, as well as addressing the needs of their constituents.
And how many people are actually working for the United Way? Do you know about how many volunteers we get?
How many volunteers? We can have, depending on what's going on, anywhere from 500 to 1,200 volunteers.
That's quite a few.
Yeah,
quite a few people.
and for employees, I think we're about 23, 24 employees in the Albany office.
Okay, great.
That doesn't include the other United Ways around, but
excellent. Yeah. Well, it's certainly a valuable service. You're doing a great service for the community. I want to thank you both for coming in and sharing with us. I hope we can get the word out for 211.
Easy to remember phone number, available 9 to 7, 7 days a week.
Great, and of course the website 211neny.org. If you haven't visited, please do. If you get a chance to make a contribution or even volunteer your time.
Yeah, feel free to call. Just ask, about 211. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. Thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks.
We hope to talk to you again soon.
Okay.
And thank you for joining us, and join us again on Assembly Update.